Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are going to be attempting to review WrestleMania 40. We'll talk about the matches that happened on the card. If you like anything like wrestling gaming highlights, like talking about wrestling or reading books, then hit the subscribe button. The subscribe button. Also, if you can leave a like on this video, it would be very much appreciated. Alright, so once again, we're going to be looking at Bleacher Report. Welcome to Bleacher Report's live coverage of WrestleMania Saturday in Philadelphia. This event is the culmination of more than a year of storytelling. Most of the feuds have been built up in recent months, but Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns have been fighting on and off since he won the 2023 Men's Royal Rumble match. He came up short last year, but managed to win the Rumble for a second time in January to earn another shot at the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Before Rhodes takes on the Tribal Chief one-on-one on Sunday, he competed in a tag team match alongside Seth Rollins against Reigns and The Rock. Here's a look at the full card for Saturday's show. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, with Rhea Ripley, who defended her Women's World Championship. You have Walter versus Sami Zayn, with Walter defending his Intercontinental Championship. You have the Judgment Day versus DIY versus Awesome Truth versus New Kids Republic versus The New Day versus A-Town Down Under for the Tag Team Championships. You have Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill and Naomi versus Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai. Rey Mysterio and Andrade versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. And then the main event, The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Let's take a look at everything that happened during WrestleMania Saturday. I also want to say, if I botched any of the names, my bad. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch, with Rhea Ripley defending her Women's World Championship against Becky Lynch. After Coco Jones sang the national anthem, Triple H came out to welcome us to the 40th WrestleMania. Becky Lynch then had a special entrance with her narrating select quotes from her book. Ripley was played to the ring by the band Motionless in White. They got to work after the bell, and the man scored the first major takedown with a flying dropkick that sent the champion out of the ring. The Eradicator took control and began beating on Lynch in the corner, but it never felt like either woman had the upper hand for too long. These two are known for being willing to have physical matches that push their limit, so it shouldn't surprise anyone that they made this feel like a highly competitive fight. We saw a lot of great individual moves and sequences. Lynch focused a lot of her attention on the arm Ripley had in a cast until Friday to set up her finisher, but the Eradicator locked in her signature standing reverse cloverleaf before the man could apply her trademark armbar. This was the right match to put in the opening spot if it wasn't going to be in the main event. Both superstars did an excellent job making every near fall count and selling every big move. After countering the manhandle slam from the middle rope, the Eradicator hit the riptide onto the turnbuckle before hitting another in the middle of the ring to score the win and retain her title. Rhea will continue her year-long reign of dominance after an outstanding match with Lynch. Bravo to both women. Result: Ripley defeated Lynch. Grade A-. Notable moments and observations. A 2-hour pre-show with 0 matches is unnecessary, but they had some cool videos to fill the time. Both women had incredible entrances and amazing gear. Ripley also had long extensions in her hair for a new look. The way the camera was showing everyone during their entrances was interesting. It might have been an 8K camera. I want to say this review is very late, and I want to get better at reviewing pay-per-views after they happen. I want to get better at that. I still have to get caught up. So we have the NXT Stand and Deliver review. That's already done. Then WrestleMania 40. Then AEW Dynasty. And then Backlash. I'm gonna focus on finishing this WrestleMania review. So yeah. Ripley hit a very nice Northern Light suplex, followed by an awesome sequence with Lynch countering a suplex into an inside cradle, only for the champion to power her back up for a suplex anyway. So I want to say I thought this was a weak match to open up the card, to start the card with. Out of the two women's matches that happened at WrestleMania, this was the weakest one. It was fine to me. So thought the match was all right. So yeah, don't have much to say about this one. So we're going to move on to the next match. All right, the next match is the six-pack ladder match for the tag team championships. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, R-Truth and The Miz, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, and Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods challenged Finn Balor and Damian Priest for the tag titles in a six-pack ladder match. Ladder matches are chaotic in most cases, but when you have 12 men fighting over two sets of belts, you're going to have something that can be a bit hard to follow, but a lot of fun at the same time. I definitely agree with that. Truth had some good comedy spots, including a moment when he thought he won by pinfall. Theory and Waller took down the SmackDown tag titles to claim those titles not too long into the match, but other teams stopped them before they could grab the Raw belts. We could argue until the cows come home about whether the right teams won. Don't know what they can argue until the cows come home means, but anyways. But the important thing is that the titles are finally split between Raw and SmackDown, and each brand will have its own set of championships again. We saw some fun moments and spots and moments, but this won't stand out among the long list of ladder matches in WWE. It was a lot of fun and the crowd was very vocal, but it was mostly just a series of big spots with only a bit of storytelling thrown in. After years of being a beloved goofball, R-Truth finally got his WrestleMania moment when he won the Raw Tag Team Championships to end an enjoyable contest. The Miz climbed the ladder and hugged him to celebrate their victory as the crowd cheered. Result: A-Town Down Under won the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Awesome Truth won the Raw Tag Team titles. Grade B. Notable moments and observations. Gargano had Shawn Michaels-inspired gear, and Ciampa looked a bit like Triple H. Xavier Woods was channeling his days as Consequences Creed a bit with his gear. Priest and Balor had cool masks for their entrance. Michael Cole calling out an entrance video mistake for Dunne and Bate was kind of funny. The belts being hung separately made it almost too obvious how this would end. Priest took out Dunne and Bate in a brutal way by using the ladder as a missile to take the former off a ladder. Waller took a powerbomb out of the ring and threw a ladder that looked great. J.D. McDonough took a big bump from a ladder through some tables outside the ring in his attempt to help the Judgment Day. Also, there was a spot where I think Johnny Gargano hit like a DDT through either Tyler Bate or Pete Dunne through a table on the outside. That was also a cool spot as well. So thought this was a good ladder match. It was entertaining. I also was thinking like, what if this had been like a TLC match? Because you guys know the TLC matches that have happened in WWE, and then if this had been like a 3 or 4 team thing, that would have been interesting. But as the ladder match, as the match itself, being a ladder match, it was fun. It was an entertaining match. It was good stuff, and like Bleacher Report said, there were some good spots. So this match was good. And also that probably might not have worked because there were 2 sets of tag titles, the Raw tag team titles and the SmackDown tag team titles. So but anyways, moving on to the next match. It was Andrade and Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. Angel, Berto, and Elektra Lopez may not have been competing, but they all had new gear and some cool looks to accompany Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio to the ring. Rey Mysterio, Andrade, and the LWO were also decked out in special gear. As expected, this was a fast-paced and exciting match. Rey, Andrade, and Escobar are celebrated veterans, and Dom has made big improvements since joining the main roster. all four men wanted to mix some classic lucha style with WWE's signature style of wrestling. While it would have been nice for everyone who was at ringside to be in a bigger match, it was probably a good idea to keep this as a 2-on-2 contest so these four superstars could shine. WO and Legado del Fantasma eventually got involved at ringside, and Wilde did the same slingshot move he has done a few times before. Two men in masks prevented Dom from using a chair and allowed Ray to hit a 619 followed by a splash to Escobar for the win. Philadelphia Eagles legends Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson, I'm sorry if I'm botching these names by the way, were revealed to be under the mask and celebrated with a victorious Ray and El Idolo. This was a bit overbooked at the end, but it was an enjoyable match with a couple of cameos to pop the local Philly fans. Result, Ray and Andrade defeated Dom and Escobar. Grade B. Notable moments and observations. Escobar's poncho was very cool. WWE needs to sell those for him, but maybe not as elaborate as this one. That would be too expensive. Andrade's spinning elbow caught Dom square in the jaw. It looked very good, and Mysterio Jr. sold it well. The double crossbody spot from Andrade and Ray was awesome. Andrade's dragon screw had a little extra spice on it. Zelina Vega almost completely missed the moonsault she tried to hit on Lopez. I thought this match was alright. It was fine. I also don't have that much to say about this match. It was just fine to me, and we're gonna move on to the next match. Alright, so the next match was Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. WrestleMania has hosted brother versus brother matches before, with Bret versus Owen Hart and Matt versus Jeff Hardy, but this was the first time two twins fought at the show of shows. Nikki and Brie Bella fought on pay-per-view, but never at Mania. Jey hit a suicide dive before Jimmy even got to the ring to get the action started early. It took a bit for Jimmy to regain his footing, but once he did, he hit a few running hip strikes to channel their father, Rikishi. The majority of this match was about telling a story rather than putting on the most exciting sequences. In some moments it worked, in others it felt like they were moving too slow and the crowd was beginning to check out. Jey and Jimmy did a good job selling most of the emotional moments, and the crowd woke up quite a bit when Jimmy started begging Jey for forgiveness. Jey picked him up and hugged him before Jimmy popped him with a super kick and hit an Uso splash for a 2 count. Once Jey recovered, he hit his own Uso splash and got the pin. Not having Solo Sikoa get involved was the right call. This was decent, but it didn't quite measure up for WrestleMania. On any other pay-per-view, this might have been received better. Result, Jey defeated Jimmy. Grade C+. Also want to say I agree with the women's world title match. They gave it a They gave the match a A-. It would get a C- for the six-pack ladder match for the tag team championships. A B is a fair grade. I would agree with that. The tag team match, that would get a B. I'd give it a C. Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso, they gave it a C+. I give it a C-. So, yeah. Notable moments and observations. The video package for this match was incredible. The WWE production team rarely misses with these. Rapper Lil Wayne came out to play Jey to the ring. One of Jey's super kicks looked like it connected a bit more than planned, but Jimmy was fine. This match was weak. It was one of the weakest matches on the card, in my opinion. And I think Jey Uso, he's been putting on some good matches. Like, he had some, like him and Cody Rhodes, when they were tagging up together, they were having some good tag team matches with Finn Balor and Damian Priest. And then Jey had this top tier world title match against Seth Rollins, who defended his World Heavyweight title against Jey Uso on the December 4th episode of Raw. I at least that seems like it was the date. So yeah, but this match was it was fine. Yeah, moving on to the next match. The next match was Damage Control versus Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi had an epic entrance for their match against the Cobra Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. They had a special elevator and introduction. 6-person tag team matches usually follow a pattern designed to give all competitors some time in the ring and at least a moment to shine. So there is usually a predictable flow. But none of that matters if the action is good, and there was plenty to enjoy here. Belair was as impressive as ever with her displays of power and agility. When Cargill finally tagged into the match, the crowd lit up, and she went after everyone on the opposing team. She easily caught Sane in midair and hit a backbreaker. She picked up the win for her team in a match that was good, but shorter than expected. With a few more minutes, this would have been much more memorable. Cargill's WrestleMania debut was a big success for her. The future of women's wrestling in WWE looks very bright, with competitors such as those involved here. Result: Cargill, Naomi, and Belair defeated Damage Control. Grade B-. Notable moments and observations. Everyone's gear, hair, and paint looked incredible. Belair hitting a moonsault on all three opponents was a fun spot. Cargill's backbreaker to Zayn looked great. The Pirate Princess sold it like a pro. Again, I don't have much to say about this match. It was fine. Going to move on to the next match, which is Walter versus Sami Zayn, with Walter defending his Intercontinental Championship against Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens was there to wish Sami Zayn luck before he made his way to the ring to challenge Walter for the Intercontinental Championship. Zayn struck first and hit several chops to corner the ring general. He seemed to surprise Ruther? Who's Ruther? I'm so sorry. Walter with his aggression, but a German suplex completely ended his momentum. Zayn is a natural baby face, but against a monster heel like Walter, he becomes even more of an underdog. The crowd was heavily behind him and chanted several times to show support. They structured this match exactly how you would expect. The champion dominated for a few minutes at a time. Zayn would make a comeback, and then Walter would find a way to counter him and begin the cycle all over again. Both men had several visible bruises and bumps, but the surprising part was how much redder Walter's chest was than Zayn's, because the Austrian is usually giving out welts. This was just as physical as expected, and the inclusion of the challenger's family added to the emotion. Zayn survived some of Walter's biggest moves, including a massive clothesline and 2 brutal power bombs. The champ became more frustrated and started punishing the underdog from the underground while talking trash to his wife. He was toying with his opponent, but Zayn began showing signs of life. He nailed Walter with a haluva kick followed by a super brainbuster. He drilled Walter with 2 more haluva kicks to get the pin and the win. Zayn is our new Intercontinental Champion after a physical and emotional match. Walter's epic reign was finally brought to an end by the underdog from the underground. Result: Zayn defeated Walter. Grade A-. Notable moments and observations. Zayn was shown with his child and wife backstage before heading toward the ring. Chad Gable wished him luck, but said Zayn didn't need him at ringside. The announcers made numerous references to Rocky IV, which was even funnier after Woods had gear that looked similar to Apollo Creed in those movies. A small percentage of wrestlers chop so hard you can hear it no matter how loud the crowd is. Walter is one of them. Alright, the match was fine, just like the match from last year's WrestleMania with the triple threat match for the Intercontinental title, and people thought that match was top tier. And this might be a hot take, but thought that match was fine. Just don't see the match that people are talking about. It was fine. It was not that good, at least in this guy's opinion. And this guy is a fan of Sami Zayn, but this match just was not as good as the two matches that Sammy had with Drew McIntyre on Raw, especially the match those two had on the December 4th, 2023 episode of Raw. This reign that Walter had with the Intercontinental title was a fine reign. Most of the matches he had during this reign that people thought were top tier, he just didn't see it. He doesn't know what it is, but he just does not understand what people saw in those matches. Maybe there's something wrong with him, which there might be. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this match. Anyways, we have the main event, the tag team match. The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. The main event of WrestleMania Saturday determined the stipulation for Night 2 when The Rock and Roman Reigns took on Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. It was more than 30 minutes between the end of Zayn's match and this match. All four men stood in a stare down at the bell for a long time before Rollins and Reigns decided to start for their teams. The Tribal Chief took the Visionary down quickly and talked some trash about ending this match fast. When Rhodes tagged in, he tried to take control but quickly found himself on defense. Rollins tagged back in and locked up with The Rock. Rock easily pushed him down, but the Visionary just smiled and out-wrestled The Rock for a quick moment to show off. The first several minutes were quick exchanges and posturing, but things picked up a bit when Rhodes and The Rock were in the ring together. The Rock and Rollins ended up fighting into the crowd, but Rock told the ref he would fire him if he counted him out in his role as a member of WWE's owner's TKO board of directors. What else? From that point forward, The Rock started cheating without worrying about any consequences. For a long time, this was all Rock and Reigns, decimating Rollins and Rhodes. This was all done in a way to make it seem like the babyfaces were in an impossible position, and it worked. But it also made for a match that wasn't as exciting as it should have been. This was enjoyable from a sports entertainment standpoint, but it was lacking in the pro wrestling department. After a long and overbooked contest, The Rock pinned Rhodes to win and make it so Sunday's main event would be the stipulation that was chosen. Result, The Rock and Reigns defeated Rollins and Rhodes. Grade B-. Notable moments and observations. Billing this as the biggest tag team match of all time was a bit much. Rollins' ring jacket was made from enough cloth to sail a medium-sized boat. The Rock's entrance was awesome. WWE made a big production out of it. The video package made Rollins feel like a bit of an afterthought in this match because he has his own bout. He had his to worry about on Sunday, but he was included as much as possible. The video was on the long side, but it was good. What else? The Rock used some F-bombs when saying he would fire the ref if he counted him out. The Cody cutter didn't connect very well. Rhodes putting The Rock through a table with a rock bottom right before Reigns speared Rollins through the barricade was a good sequence. Alright, so this was apparently the second longest WrestleMania match. Besides the Iron Man match, this is the second longest. Didn't know that, but now he does know that. So that's interesting. The match itself, though, he's going to agree with what Bleacher Report said. This match was fine. It was a fine tag team match. Like what they said here about, this was enjoyable from a sports entertainment standpoint, but it was lacking in the pro wrestling department. So, yeah, it was fine, with all the guys involved. You would think this would be a top-tier tag team match, but no, that's not what happened here. So, yeah, just don't have that much to say about this match. It was fine. I mean, it's a main event that, it was all right, fine stuff. So yeah, just don't have that much to say about this. We're just gonna move on to the final word. So yeah, the main event was fine. So yeah, gonna move on to the final word. The final word now. WrestleMania Saturday wasn't perfect, but it had a lot to like. One notable moment was R-Truth getting his first actual Mania moment when he and The Miz won the Raw Tag Team titles. Two matches stood out above the rest in terms of wrestling quality. Ripley versus Lynch and Walter versus Zayn were both outstanding contests that helped all four competitors. He's going to disagree with that. The ladder and six-woman tag matches had some fun moments, but the two contests involving the main faction, that was, the faction Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, well, not Jey Uso, the faction, the contest involving those people ended up being weak points. Jey and Jimmy Uso focused too much on storytelling instead of the high energy style that made them famous, and the main event was long, overbooked, and predictable. Seeing The Rock wrestle in a ring again was cool, especially for fans in attendance, but it felt like everything would have flowed much better if the opening and closing bouts had swapped places. Grade B. So yeah, I thought WrestleMania Saturday was a weak show. Every match just was fine, just fine. The standout match on the card was the ladder match. That was a good match, and it was the match that helped this card, that helped WrestleMania Saturday, get a couple of it was a good match. It was entertaining, and that match stood out above any other match on the card. Yes, I even more than the women's world championship match and the Intercontinental Championship match. Just thought the ladder match was better than both of those matches. Don't know if that's a hot take, but yeah. So yeah, WrestleMania Saturday. He does agree with the thing with the so yeah, the six-woman tag team match, it was fine. Don't have much to say about that one. The Jey and Jimmy Uso, they had a fine match. Thought it would have been better because Jey, as I said in that match, as he said when he was talking about that match, Jey has been putting on some good matches. So in tag team and in singles matches, so thought it was gonna be a better match, but it just wasn't, unfortunately. Also, he does agree with the main event being long and predictable, for sure. Just a fine main event. Could have been, like, seriously, with the competitors involved, you think it would be better, but it just wasn't. At least in his opinion. It may be an unpopular opinion, but just thought it was a fine main event. So, yeah, gonna move on to, so yeah, that's all he has to say about WrestleMania Saturday. So WrestleMania Saturday would get a B minus. So, yeah, because with the matches just being alright, and the ladder match standing out, it would get, the entire show would just get a B minus. Alright, so now they're gonna look at Bleacher's Report for night 2. WWE WrestleMania 40 results, winners, live grades, reaction, and highlights of night 2. Welcome to Bleacher Report's live coverage of WWE WrestleMania 40, night 2 in Philadelphia. Saturday's event saw new champions crowned in the Intercontinental and Tag Team title bouts, but the match with the biggest implications was the main event. The Rock and Roman Reigns defeated Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, making the undisputed WWE Universal title bout between the Tribal Chief and the American Nightmare the stipulation that was chosen. Here's a look at the card from Sunday's show. Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, with Seth Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre. Io Sky versus Bayley, with Io Sky defending her WWE Women's Championship against Bayley, LA Knight versus AJ Styles, Logan Paul versus Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens, with Logan Paul defending his United States Championship against Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. The Pride versus the Final Testament, a six-man tag team Philadelphia street fight, and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, with Roman Reigns defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against Cody Rhodes. Let's take a look at what happened on night 2 of WrestleMania. Alright, so Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. After a rendition of America the Beautiful, we got a surprise appearance from Stephanie McMahon. She called this the first WrestleMania of the Paul Levesque era, and I'm sorry if I botched that name. If I botched Triple H's last name. When it was time for Drew McIntyre to make his entrance, a large band on the stage began playing Scottish music. The challenger made his way past a dozen men holding up swords. Rollins had a much more colorful band playing his music. McIntyre nailed a claymore as soon as the bell rang for a close 2 count. Rollins rolled out of the ring, but the challenger followed and hit a suplex before taking some time to send a message on Twitter. The Visionary was able to hit a pedigree on the floor, but at a cost to his own knee. He hit a curb stomp, but barely got a 2 count. This was all in the original couple minutes of the match, so you could tell these guys were not planning on holding back. The Scottish Warrior, even survived a powerbomb, pedigree, and stomp sequence. This match was all big moves and near falls, but it was done in the best possible way. They didn't try to trade holds or chain wrestle. This was about both men hitting their finishing moves until either man's finishing move finally worked. The Scottish Warrior hit another claymore to a defiant Rollins to get the pin and win the World Heavyweight Championship. This was a special moment after not getting his big win in front of fans during the pandemic. This match was exactly what it needed to be. Both men put on a great performance and the crowd gave them a lot of energy. McIntyre may be a heel, but he got a hero's response. He tried talking trash to CM Punk, but ended up getting tripped on top of the announce table. Straight Edge Superstar kept attacking him until Damian Priest ran down with the Money in the Bank briefcase. He struck McIntyre with it. The match began and he hit South of Heaven to get the win and become the second new World Heavyweight Champion of the night. This gave them an emotional moment for McIntyre, followed by a surprise win for Priest. Now Punk and McIntyre can feud while Priest holds the title on Raw. Result: McIntyre defeated Rollins, then Priest defeated McIntyre. Grade A-. Notable moments and observations. A special music video opened the main show. The camera didn't show McIntyre's pyro on the stage at all, but we saw it when he was posing in the ring. Both men had awesome entrances, but Rollins was more memorable. Catching and powerbombing a guy the size of McIntyre was a huge display of power from Rollins. He thought this was a good match. The best match Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins have had in the most recent matches they've had. Their match from Money in the Bank 2020 did not deliver to him, and then their match from Crown Jewel last year did not deliver either. After this match was over, he was asking why didn't they deliver this type of match in their previous matches, at least in his opinion. The match was only 10 minutes and 30 seconds, which is kind of surprising. It felt like the match was much longer than that. These guys hitting their finishing moves was cool, and there were good near falls. Seth kicked out of multiple claymores. And then, the stuff with Punk, reading Bleacher Report again, he tried talking trash to CM Punk, but ended up getting tripped on top of the announce table. The straight-edge superstar kept attacking him until Damian Priest ran down with the Money in the Bank briefcase. He struck McIntyre with it. The match began, and he hit the South of Heaven to get the win and become the second new world champion in the night. Punk was clapping and smiling while on the announce table. If he's remembering correctly, he's not a Damian Priest fan. He thinks the guy put on some good tag team matches when he was tagging with Finn Balor. But good for him. He's now the World Heavyweight Champion, and they'll talk about his title defense at Backlash and the entire Backlash card when we get to it, hopefully very soon. Alright, so the next match was the Pride versus Final Testament in a street fight. The Street Profits and Lashley sent all three opponents out of the ring right away to get the match started, with Bubba Ray Dudley serving as a guest referee. Dawkins and Ford made sure to get a table as soon as they could. B-Fab and Scarlett ended up getting physical because there were no rules. We saw kendo sticks, trash cans, and chairs brought into the ring and used by both teams at various points. Cross ended up getting in Bubba's face when he counted a near fall, but Lashley used the opportunity to hit a spear. Ford and Dawkins did some signature Dudley Boys taunts and moves, much to the delight of the Philly crowd. After a failed attempt, Ford hit a big frog splash to put Cross through a table to get the win. This was a fun bit of chaos that didn't overstay its welcome. Result, the Pride defeated the Final Testament, Grade B. Notable moments and observations. Snoop Dogg was on commentary and seemed to be in a great mood. Ford legitimately almost ended up going over the barricade when he hit a dive from the top turnbuckle. B-Fab ended up going through a table. A table that they were going to use broke before they could use it. The crowd booed until another one was brought in. Don't have much to say about this match. It didn't deliver. The match happened, and then it was just like, alright, that was a match, and now it's time to move on to the next match. A weak match like the other weak matches from WrestleMania Saturday. At least in his opinion. So, the next match was LA Knight versus AJ Styles. The third match of Night 2 was LA Knight versus AJ Styles. There were no titles and no special stipulations. This was just a standard singles match. Styles debuted a new theme song but didn't give it much time to play. He ran to the ring and the match got started right away. They did a good job making this feel like a grudge match right from the start. Knight had every right to be upset after Styles flew to Australia to attack him inside the Elimination Chamber in February. This was an unpredictable contest heading into Sunday. Neither man had a clear advantage or more to lose, so neither outcome would have been surprising. Instead, the surprise element was how well this match was structured. Both of these guys are talented, so nobody expected a bad performance. But they seemed determined to make sure their performance was not overlooked. After countering the phenomenal forearm, Knight won with the BFT. Result, Knight defeated Styles, grade B+. Notable moments and observations. Knight was shown arriving at the stadium in the Slim Jim car. The way Styles took a bump out of the ring looked great. He went over the top rope quickly but didn't slam into the apron on the way down. Every time WWE showed a wide shot of the ring, the Slim Jim logos became very distracting. The German suplex from Knight on the top rope was awesome. He was actually looking forward to this match and thought this match did not deliver, which is surprising because you have AJ Styles in this match, and he has delivered some top-tier matches in the WWE, but this year he has not had a singles match that he thought was top-tier. The best stuff LA Knight has done this year was the Fatal 4 at the Royal Rumble. as well as AJ Styles, and that's the only thing that AJ Styles, that's the only match that AJ Styles has done well in this year, in his opinion. And LA Knight also, he did well in the Elimination Chamber match. Besides that, though, neither guy has delivered in singles matches, at least in his opinion. Also, side note, why was Elimination Chamber called Elimination Chamber Perth? Like, he understands the show took place there, but does not need to be in the show title. Also with Backlash, they called it Backlash France. Same thing. He understands the show took place in France, but the show does not need to be called that. Just have Elimination Chamber and Backlash. This is just his opinion. He could be wrong. He usually is, but just something he noticed. He's not a big fan of LA Knight's finisher, the BFT. In his opinion, he thinks Jimmy Uso sold it the best in the tag team match at Fastlane last year. At least that's what he thinks. But overall, the match between AJ Styles and LA Knight here, just once again, it did not deliver. At least in his opinion. So next up you had Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton, with Logan Paul defending the United States Championship against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. The United States Championship was on the line when Logan Paul defended the belt against Randy Orton and Kevin Owens in a triple threat match. He rode a big truck into the arena and had a prime mascot accompanying him to the ring. Zayn was waiting backstage to wish KO luck, just like Owens did for him on Saturday. He drove a golf cart to the ring. When it was time for Orton's entrance, he backed the cart up and gave the Viper a ride to the ring. Orton and the prize fighter turned this into a handicap match at first and took turns suplexing Paul onto the announce table over and over and over. The Viper almost hit an RKO on Owens. When KO avoided it, they had a hilarious exchange. WWE picked the perfect people to book against Paul. The three men worked together to put on a match that was more entertaining than anything else we had seen up to this point in the show. We got some great spots, funny moments, and creative offense from all three competitors. Any complaints would be minor and insignificant. Whether you like or hate Paul, you have to respect the work he puts into his matches. After he interfered, Orton pulled YouTuber IShowSpeed out of the Prime costume and hit an RKO on an announce table. After taking an RKO, Owens ended up taking a frog splash from Paul to give him the win. Paul defeated Orton and Owens, grade A-. Notable moments and observations. The tributes to Bray Wyatt will always be beautiful. It looked like Paul was streaming from an old smartphone during his entrance. The footage was especially grainy. Paul trying to turn Orton and Owens against each other, only for them to team up on him again, was hilarious. Paul's swanton into a frog splash was a good sequence. Also, another moment they didn't. It seems like they didn't mention here. He thinks Kevin Owens went for like a pop-up powerbomb, and Randy Orton countered it into the RKO, and that was a good spot as well. He thought this was a good match. So yes, the counter from the pop-up powerbomb into the RKO. He thought that was cool. Just to mention it again. If he is remembering correctly, he thinks IShowSpeed barked at Randy Orton, and then before Randy hit the RKO on the announcer table, Randy barked back at IShowSpeed, and then he hit the RKO, which he thought was hilarious. He does not know why, but he just thought it was funny. So yes, he thought the triple threat match was a good match. Alright, so next up, it was Io Sky versus Bayley, with Io Sky defending her WWE Women's Championship against Bayley. The WWE Women's Championship match was contested between two former allies. Bayley and Io Sky used to be close friends in Damage Control, but now the role model finds herself out of the group and fighting alone. Both women had great entrances, but were all business when they got into the ring. What else? They locked up, and the challenger scored a takedown to send Sky out of the ring to regroup. Once the genius of the Sky took control, she began to focus on the same leg Bayley has had problems with for years. This was a competitive back-and-forth fight with a few standout spots. After all the mayhem and chaos we saw in every other match, it was impressive how these two superstars made a normal contest with no weapons or interference feel important. That's how good these women are at their jobs. Both women had some creative counters to finishers, but when the dust settled, it was Bayley who got the pin to become the new women's champion. This was great from start to finish. Result, Bayley defeated Sky, grade A-. Notable moments and observations. Bayley's entrance was Egyptian-inspired, and she had 4 men carrying her on their shoulders. Ring announcer Samantha Irving showed serious emotion in her work through this weekend. There is such a thing as chanting too long, and it happened in this match. It's fun, but it can be a bit distracting when it just keeps going and going. The way Sky countered the Bayley to belly was perfect. Io Sky managed to have another good match with another talented wrestler. She had the match with Bianca Belair last year at Backlash, and that was a good match. And then this year with Bayley at WrestleMania. I agree that Io's counter to the Bayley to belly was a nice counter. He's not a big fan of the rose plant finisher. He thinks it probably just has to be sold well. And Io Sky sold it convincingly enough to where he could believe that Bayley was able to win the match with it. He thinks this women's championship match was better than the women's world championship match. Don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but that's just what he thinks. Thought Io Sky and Bayley had a good women's match. This match delivered. Right, on to the main event. We got Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, with Roman Reigns defending the undisputed WWE Universal title against Cody Rhodes. The main event of WrestleMania 40 saw Cody Rhodes challenge Roman Reigns for the second year in a row. Both men had epic entrances fit for an event of this magnitude, and Brandy Rhodes made an appearance with her husband. Reigns had an orchestra play him to the ring. They circled each other until Rhodes pushed Reigns to the corner. Despite this match basically having no rules, they worked a standard match at first with holds, counters, and takedowns like we would see in any other bout. Once the tribal chief was sent into the ring post, Rhodes decided it was time to pull out a table. Reigns hit a drive-by dropkick and put the table back under the ring just to make the crowd angry. They battled in the ring, at ringside, and in the crowd. They used weapons, parts of the set, and anything else they could find that would inflict damage. This was much better than their tag team match on Saturday and illustrated why these two men deserve to be in the spot. They combined good wrestling with storytelling to make a compelling main event. As with any main event world title bout, there were several false finishes to build anticipation for the pin that would eventually end the contest, including near falls with both men using each other's finishing move. Both Usos showed up and ended up crashing through a bunch of tables next to the stage to take each other out. Solo Sikoa showed up and almost cost Rhodes the match, but John Cena ran down and fought Sikoa off before hitting Reigns with an attitude adjustment. The Rock walked down to give us the Black Adam versus Peacemaker showdown we will never get in the movies. He hit a rock bottom before the Shield's music hit. Seth Rollins showed up with a chair, but Reigns cut him off with a Superman punch. The crowd erupted when The Undertaker's gong sounded. He appeared in the ring behind The Rock and hit a chokeslam before exiting in the dark as quickly as he arrived. After Reigns took out Rollins with a chair, Cody Rhodes grabbed him and hit 3 crossroads to finally defeat the tribal chief. This was overbooked in the best possible way and provided a satisfying conclusion to the 40th annual WrestleMania. As the new champion celebrated, several members of the roster joined him in the ring. Result, Rhodes defeated Reigns, grade A. So guys, he doesn't know what's going on with the background noise. There's like this sound he keeps hearing. He doesn't know what's going on, but, so, moving on. Don't know what's going on there, so, yeah. But moving on. Hopefully you guys can hear him mostly well. So, yeah. Notable moments and observations. Rhodes and Reigns both had great entrances with a lot of bells and whistles. It took almost 20 minutes from the time WWE began the hype video until the match began. Reigns randomly using a perfectplex was a nice surprise. Orton hugging Rhodes in celebration at the end felt like a full circle moment. He thought this match was entertaining, just like the match from last year. Thought it would have been cool to see Austin give The Rock the stunner and see if The Rock would have oversold the stunner like he usually does. Don't know about everybody else, but he has always liked The Rock overselling the stunner. But you get The Undertaker, and there was still a cool moment with The Undertaker chokeslamming The Rock. With Seth coming out with the Shield gear, thought it also would have been cool to have Dean Ambrose come back to the WWE. It would have been a cool moment, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. So Seth, he got taken out by Roman Reigns with the Superman punch, as Bleacher Report put in their notable moments and observations. This WrestleMania was better than last year's, in his opinion. He thought the matches were better than matches from last year, in his opinion. And you know he keeps saying in his opinion, but and that might get repetitive, but he guessed I don't know. I don't know. The final word. WrestleMania 40 was 2 nights of fun action, but night 2 was definitely the more entertaining show from start to finish. He agrees with that. Seeing Priest, Bayley, and Rhodes all win titles on Sunday, in addition to the new Intercontinental Tag Champs from Saturday, helped this year's show feel like a reset in a lot of ways. The pay-per-view ended with Triple H embracing the new champ before he continued to celebrate with his friends and family. Every match on Sunday ranged from good to great, but the main event was the most entertaining contest we saw all weekend. He would argue that he thought the triple threat match and the main event were both entertaining, although the triple threat match was a good match and also entertaining at the same time, and the main event was entertaining. So he does agree with that as well. So yeah, the wrestling, the storytelling, the cameos, and the callbacks all worked. It's hard to think of a better way this all could have ended. Grade A. Also want to say, he doesn't know if what he said about the rose plant thing made a lot of sense. He doesn't know. I think if any move could look good if it's sold well. So maybe that wasn't the best choice of words, but he doesn't know. Also, if just to make it clear, he was talking about the United States Championship triple threat match. I think that was the only triple threat match on the show. So yeah. Just in case if it wasn't clear, although it might have been, and he's just saying this for no reason. But anyways, moving on here. If you like anything like wrestling gaming highlights, like talking about wrestling or reading books, then hit the subscribe button. Also, if you can leave a like on this video, it would be very much appreciated. Also, side note, on Wikipedia, it says, the event received highly positive reviews, with Night 2 being singled out for critical acclaim. Praise was given to all 7 championship matches, with the undisputed WWE Universal Championship match garnering ubiquitous? Don't know if he pronounced that word right. Acclaim for its storytelling and satisfying conclusion. He just wanted to say ubiquitous. That's a big word. That word, when he saw that, he was like, damn, that's a big word to use, but alright then. So just wanted to mention that. But, yeah. So we're just going to quickly go through the letter grade and star ratings. He thinks he started this, but he doesn't remember where he stopped, so we're just going to quickly go over them all over again. So starting from WrestleMania Saturday, you had the Women's World Championship match. So yeah, Bleacher Report gave it an A minus. He will give it a, for the number score, the match will get a 6.6 out of 10. And the letter grade is, for this match, is a D. With the ladder match, Bleacher Report gave it a B. He would agree with that. He'll also give it a B as well. Alright, so next up, the tag team match between Andrade and Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. Bleacher Report gave it a B. He'll give it a D as well. Alright, so next up you had Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. Bleacher Report gave it a C+. This match will also get a D as well. This video is already way too long, so trying to get through these letter grades as fast as possible. Yeah, next match was Damage Control versus Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. You could this one gets just give it a C minus. Next up, you had Walter versus Sami Zayn, with Walter defending the Intercontinental Championship against Sami Zayn. This match, Bleacher Report gave it an A minus. He'll give it a C minus. Then you had the main event, the tag team match, The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. They gave it a B minus. He'll also give the main event a C minus as well. To night 2 with Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre, with Seth Rollins, who defended the World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre. Bleacher Report gave the match an A minus. He'll agree, an A minus as well. So yeah, A minus. All right, next up you had the Pride versus Final Testament in a street fight. Bleacher Report gave it a B. The grade is a B. The grade, he'll give it a D. Right, next up, so you had LA Knight versus AJ Styles. Bleacher Report gave the match a B plus. He'll give the match a C minus. So next up, Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton, with Logan Paul defending the United States Championship against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. The Bleacher Report gave the grade is an A minus, and he'll also agree with that. He'll give the match an A minus as well. Next up, you had Io Sky versus Bayley, with Io defending her WWE Women's Championship against Bayley. Bleacher Report gave the grade is an A minus. He'll also agree with that. The match also gets an A minus as well. And finally, you have the main event, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, with Roman Reigns defending the undisputed WWE Universal title against Cody Rhodes. Bleacher Report, the grade they gave the match was an A. He'll give it a B because it was entertaining. It was an entertaining match, so he'll give the grade for the match is a B. So night 2, the number score would be a 7.4, and the letter grade would be a C. There were some good matches, but there were also 2 matches on the card that did not deliver, so at least in his opinion. So the number score is a 7.4, and the letter grade is a C. And if you want to know more about when things are coming out on the channel, you can go to Twitter, where the username is Batman@2043, and on Instagram, where the username is the same as the YouTube channel name. So if you want to follow, you can. If you don't, that's fine too. Bye.